So, joy to the world. The CA1A. Hi, I'm Zeospantera, the host of Z Reviews and In-Ear Fetish and all the other channels linked somewhere else. I don't know. I just got back from New York Can Jam, and I spent a good deal of time before New York Can Jam with these RAL CA1As, which are and it says it right here, a circumaural ribbon. So not a planar, not an electrostat. These are a ribbon headphone, like the original RAL requisites are, and like the Gold Planar GL1200 are. And what that means is they're kind of fucking weird. And I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is this cable, because it's literally looks like it's designed for comedic purposes. But for the first time in the history of this channel, a cable has actually improved something. Although I'm going to say, all right, we got some shit to talk about. As you can kind of see, mousepad linked in the description. And thank you to my patrons for being patrons. $10 patrons get to ask me questions anytime they want. I got to say that this review has taken me entirely too long to fabricate. Because it's not just a simple matter of put on a headphone, music, smile, sad, good, bad. It's not that. There's so much different about a ribbon, and specifically this RAL, that I've discovered and then I've like fucking fallen into, and then the cable makes a difference, and I got to check it with both cables now, because there's a little tiny skinny cable, which is the stock cable, and then Mimic Audio, who sent me this, was like, by the way, I'm going to send you this. I think it's a double helix cable. I don't quite recognize that logo. It might be double helix. But it makes a difference, because these are the thing about like a regular, like a 600 ohm or 300 ohm headphone, is that's the resistance that the headphone itself has. And it's usually high enough, even if it's like 25 ohms, something low, like Audio-Technica 2000X. Usually that's still high enough that the cable itself makes no difference, because the cable, if you actually measured the cable, it would be like 0.05 of an ohm of a resistance. And it doesn't matter, because everything else is drawing so much that the cable doesn't matter. These are 0.01 ohm. I actually don't remember what the actual fucking number is, but it's because of the way they are, the way they're built, and because of what that is, it is some absolutely hilariously, stupidly low impedance number on the headphone, which means the cable matters, because the wire that goes to this, hundredth of an ohm headphone will add on to the ohms load, and you're using a transformer box. By the way, this setup with the box and then the headphone is $2,500. That's another reason I'm kind of excited about this, because while that is high, it is two gemstone Zeos in the title, it's not $5,000. Or I think the original RAW was $4,500. It was some absurd number. $2,500 is it's not, I'm not going to say it's mid-fi. Holy fuck, stop. But it could be much more money, and I feel like $2,000 you can actually get this without the box, because shit sells an actual amp dedicated to something with this sort of ohms impedance. So $2,000, $2,500 is mildly attainable. That's as far as I'll go, is to say it's mildly attainable. And so I want to take it seriously. The problem is, well, the first problem was the pads. They're a foam, but they're like an exposed foam, kind of like Grados are. And they're angled, and you have two options. You have a gapped foam and a solid foam. And I've been told that if you fill in some of the gap in the gapped foam, just like half of this, if you make half of this half, it changes the sound also, which would make it even more fucking difficult. Then we got to talk about Convolver filters, convolution filters that someone, I could show you the website where you can buy them. They're $200. You could buy a set of filters that you install. I can actually install them into Fubar. You can install them into Rune and have an auto switch, and those help these out tremendously. But I guess we should probably start around, you know what? Fuck it. We're going right back to stock. Bone dick stock. I don't know if there's a bone dick stock, but that's what we're going for. The one exceptionally nice thing about these pads is they're interchangeable. You get both sets, and they've come up with this system where it's just a flexible piece of plastic glued to some foam, And this foam could be nice. I would like if it had like a felt. If it had like a nice fabric just here. I was actually in CanJam, and the creator of them was sitting there going, no, but you need this so it could have a certain amount of density and pass through air, whether you're using it, and then it can, because these are actually like a different foam material for each. This one's got a bigger structure. Whatever. I like this because you literally just push it into the slot at the bottom and you bend it a little bit and it drops into the slot on the top. If I can get it without looking like an idiot. And then I realized I put it on backwards because this is the right channel. So I'll have to undo that and then put it this way. But this is a good system because if you're going to give 2 pads, I've seen Velcro systems, I've seen magnet systems like Abyss has, and this is like the cheapest system. But since I saw this system, I'm like, wait a second, I have rings like that. Oh, look at that, they're the same height. So I got out my Dremel and I notched top and bottom, and this is a flexible plastic ring from inside Dakoni LCD pads. These sons of bitches, the big ones, they have plastic rings in them with some foam on the end. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make my own plastic rings. And then, luckily enough, the Dakoni LCD pads are adhesive, which I don't usually like, but I made these rings, and then I made them so they're flexible, but the adhesive just stuck to it, so I could just stick on new pads. And the stock headphone, which we're about to turn on right now, is good enough that it concerns me, all this stuff. Because it's fast. The whole point of a ribbon, the whole point of there's no reason to try anything new if what we've got is perfectly fine. All right? If dynamics are the best we're going to get and maybe some planars, fuck it, why would you even try this? But there's something to a ribbon. Because the way a ribbon works, it's an accordion, essentially. And this could be a completely fucking wrong this way. But it's been explained. So if you take a ribbon, here's a speaker driver, boom, moves in and out. Here's a planar driver. There's another flat surface, moves in and out. Here's an electrostatic, moves in and out. What a ribbon does is it takes a very big piece of material and it folds it a bunch of fucking times, and then it moves like this. So it squeezes the air between the gaps. So instead of moving like this, it sort of self-moves like this, and it throws air so much faster and more. It's just because it's a surface area. If you took it and you stretched it out, it'd be like 12 inches long or something absurd. I'm guessing with that, by the way. It might just be like this long, but having a driver this big in your ear that's a benefit. The ribbon tweeters that we see over there, and the fluids and the emotivas, those are ribbons. Actually, that's a weird flat ribbon in the Swan. We don't look at that one. But that's how they work. Instead of just a big surface pushing air, you have an accordion that basically squeezes, and all those V's get smaller and bigger, but there's like 100 of them, and they all do this, and it shoots air. Which means it doesn't have to move a lot, which means it's fast. That's one of the things about sound. Once you can get the thing that's making the sound fast, you're like, oh my God, where's this detail coming from? The problem being, the bass doesn't need fast. The bass needs a lot of air to move at a specific amount, which is why these exist versus the raw requisites, which, by the way, I have not reviewed. Because now that they're encapsulated in a driver, we got to talk about the build and the looks of these. This is going to be a slightly longer review than most because I've got a lot to say, because I have such excitement for these and at the same time utter dread. Like, they don't look the part of a $2,000 headphone. Like this material here looks like it was 3D printed and then sanded, but the guy is like, yeah, no, you could run that over with a truck and it would be fine. Like the material, the composite they make this out of, it just looks like an unfinished recycled plastic. So let's go with looks now. So we got some rough edges here. Well, some very, very geometric edges. Kind of cool. Kind of like, it reminds me of like Beetlejuice, like the art statues that the mother there was making. You get those weird, ugly pads, and they're not terribly uncomfortable. The angle helps, but at the same time, this headphone only has this motion. There's no this and that. So I've been doing a little bit of this to try to like work into this single piece of spring steel or spring titanium. Honestly, I don't know, to give it a little bit more back. Even though this is angled, I needed a little bit more. So I've been working it. I've been known to work a headphone or two, there and there. I'm actually going to disconnect this wire for a second because We'll turn that volume down because it's so heavy. That's another problem. This makes a difference. Do you understand how stupid this cable looks? But I'm going to recommend something like it if you want to get the absolute most detail out of these headphones. And I keep calling them headphones because it's easier. 3.5 millimeter, thank the gods. Although, no, you know what? Thank the God. Well, the problem is this cable's so heavy that I'm worried that I'm going to just, like it's heavy. Like, I'm guarantee you I could pull my entire weight up with just one half of this. And that means that this 3.5 has got weight on it, and that means those ports have weight on them, and that's not good. I would almost prefer if these were some sort of weird fucking connector that could just take the abuse of 6 pounds of wire. That's an exaggeration. It's more like 3.5 pounds of wire. Back to the build. So I've dealt with a lot of people who are making their own custom headphones lately. Like a lot of people are 3D printing headphones. People at Drop had it. We had a ton of them. And this looks like someone's project headphone. But this is done. This is done. This is done. This is done. And if you know about the original raw requisite, you know that was kind of like a what the hell is going on with it touching your head? And so, I mean, this is what we're going with. We're going with a single piece of steel that comes down, it's split. Then we've got literally a strap with holes in it, which I think he said the new one has more holes, because I find it's hard to adjust it properly. And as my anal retentiveness, I need to be down only 2 here, but down 3 here. And it's like, I want to punch something. But it's a nice leather strap. I think I turned this upside down. Usually it's the soft end down, but I wanted to slide a little bit on my head. So it says raw requisite backwards, and then you have this intricate little system of like, well, let's see, how do we do this? We go over the top and then down. And then, I mean, if you were building like a headphone, I've always thought, wow, I'm doing that real bad. I've always thought if I was building a headphone, like the cups are easy. You make them out of wood, you 3D print them. The headband and adjustment system, that's the nightmare. That's the hardest part about building, is getting something like this that can do all the articulation you want and not break after 2-3 years of use. So here's how this works. You literally just go like, well, I think I want, we'll do 2 and 2. And it just pops over those holes. And that just flops there. The end. So not the best build, like not, this ain't meze, but we're looking at near meze money. And it's like, it's fine, it works, it's functional. This is definitely an engineer's headphone. You're here to get these drivers to somehow get suspended on your brain so you can use them. That actually isn't bad now. Hopefully the leather will stretch, then it'll be perfect. So now, comfort, they're light. The clamp isn't a lot, they just sit sort of like this. That isn't me messing with it or anything. Let's plug in... Hi, sweet. Let's plug in the monster cable. Oh, trademark monster cable, LLC, which is marked in red. And this, and I'm amazed these haven't just pulled out. So that's something nice. And so here's the converter box. The converter box isn't much to talk about. It's a black box. It's inert. There's no power to it. You have a high Z input of 32 ohms and a low Z input of 16 ohms. They're just it's one of these in the back. It looks just like a headphone jack. The plugs on this are reversed. You get the headphone itself. The headphone itself gets the female end of a 4-pin XLR, and the back of the amp gets a male end. So like normal balanced amplifiers are the female end, you plug the male end in. They do this so you don't plug regular headphones into this converter box and blow the fuck out of them. Don't blow them up. It was the same on the GL 1200s, which I have in my office, and I kind of want to try this cable on it, and I'll probably do that after this review. So what I've got pushing into this, one of the nice things about this, and the reason why I like this more than the original Rawls, is the original Rawls had a converter box, but you had to hook it up to a speaker amp, which I do anyway. But this can actually, it just comes with a wire. Can I get to it without knocking the entire world? Oh. There we go. Look, it comes with just this adapter wire. So you take it from headphone level amp X firmware interface. So you plug this into whatever your normal amplifier is, and in which case I'm using the Topping LA90 because, well, it deserves to be used. And then you just plug it into one of the whichever one applies better for the amplifier you're using, which in my case is high Z, which I like that because my name is Z and it's like saying hello to me. This thing is relatively heavy. It's well built enough. It's not super ugly. It doesn't have any waifus on it, but it tells you specifically what it is, and don't fuck with it. Look at the thickness on that front. So we throw this down. This is the $500 converter box. If you don't buy that, you end up having to buy the shit amp. So now we've got that plugged into this stupid cable, into these things, and we hit next on what were we listening to? 28 Days Later, Alice is Alive. It's a very quiet song. By the way, this is on high gain. And we'll take it to like 1 o'clock. And it's a very quiet song. And the first thing you notice, Zeos, timestamp for sound. These headphones, specifically with this cable, are fucking angry. Like, it feels like it's just, I need to get you the sound as fast as possible, sir. It's like the concierge of audio. It's just like, I'll get there. Let me get this for you. Things are happening real fast. And you don't know what that means. Like, I can't describe it to you with words because it's like describing like the greatest apple pie. Like, you could say it's gooey and warm, but it's not going to work unless you shove that shit in your mouth, which is why you got to go to things like Can Jams. It's much more transparent than most headphones. Even most good headphones. Even things like Abyss Dianas, which are insanely light diaphragms and very fast and good drivers. But it just feels like it's moving air just faster. So what you get is this... I don't know.
Note the melodic sweetness and timbral allure of this remarkable cellist.
I've been sitting here for fucking hours just listening to these and going, God, they sound so good. God, they sound so good. God, they sound so good. And then just not knowing if I'm going to be able to put what it can do into words. Because, oh my fucking God. Like when you vibrate a string on an instrument, this is actually perfect. Cello tone is perfect. When a string vibrates, it vibrates at a certain frequency, and we could pretty much reproduce that frequency with anything you see there. Because everything up there, I could play this exact same cello song, and it'll sound like a cello. This sounds the most like a cello. This is doing strings the most justice. There's your fucking blurb if you want to put it in a review. The justice this is doing on the strings is just like, oh, that is just a fucking cello playing. I could hear the wood behind it because it's not just a string, it's the string and the wood and the resonance of the room. And it's like, I don't want to say like twice as resolving as blah, blah, blah. Because then there's like, well, then you mean you're measuring with your brain, Zeos. I actually did a panel at Can Jam. And it was asked to reviewers, and someone brought up measurements, and I was just like, yeah, I don't really find that I need to measure to really know if I enjoy or don't enjoy a headphone. It's not part of my shtick. Like, it's just, you measure before you build it. You measure while you're testing pads or something, like the Coney measures with Tills old rig when they do pets. But for me, personally, if I'm just using a headphone, I don't need to know those squiggly lines. And all the other people were just like fucking 40 minutes of talking about it. So... there was a PowerPoint presentation was bust out in the middle of a thing. I don't think you could measure the speed of something. Like, measure the speed of something. Measure the speed of a cello. I'm left speechless with some of the songs I've listened to on this. Speechless. Now, we're listening to the stock pads with the heavy cable, which I'd say this cable, and now I'm going to start using bullshit measurements in my brain, I'd say you get 8 to 10% more detail. I was listening to this, and when I did my pad swaps with these other pads, like some of the Coney's, or actually, where's the ones I like the most? The ones I've liked the most so far are these, the Auteur Suedes. And with this cable and the Auteur Suedes, I was just fucking chilling. I was meze-lyric, meze-empyrean, but faster, just sort of like relaxing and enjoying these headphones. Here's when these headphones become important. Because if you use a more resistive cable, it changes the sound, which means you're tuning it essentially. So then I decided, okay, I'm not going to use the stock pads. I got to use these other pads, which trap the bass a little more and bring it up, because it's trying to be as clean as possible. So one of those headphones is trying to be clean and fast and clean and fast and clean and fast. It's not trying to taste like anything. So the pads can add a flavor, and the wires could add more cleanliness or take away some detail in exchange for tonality. And now we got to talk about Convolver filters, because we're using the open pads. I'm going to swap to the closed because I like the Convolver with the closed. I prefer them with the open pad things, whatever you want to call that, when you're using just stock config. If you're going to start fucking around with the Convolver filters, which we'll have to open up that webpage and not look at the waifu for a second. AccurateSound.ca is the place who has the filters for sale, and you can buy them. So I'm going to slop this in here. And what they do is they measure a headphone, and then they adjust not just frequency response. Remember when I was saying how much I really like this? Well, the problem is you go to grab it and bend it, and you can't because you bent it that way. You have to make sure it's bending like that. And that's the only part that's like, you have to, like, you need like 3 hands to do this. You got to squeeze it from the bottom. I'll get good at it. I'm going to get good. He's going to go back to Mimic, but I'm going to get good at some point. There. That's how we do it. I figured it out. On camera, Zeos has adapted and overcome. Do that, and then you just push up from the bottom. Right? Yeah, there we go. There. Now I'm proficient. So now we've got them closed. So if I just unpause the music, they sound worse by default with the closed pad. They sound just like nasal and like you've closed it in, and it's not as good as the open pad. We could fix that with these filters. So the set cost $200 as one customer review, and the guy basically said he didn't like the way these sounded until he installed them. And I know what EQ can do to fix a thing. Anything. I was first taught on the iSign, the Audiophile iSign 10 or 20. I had the 20. And if you got the lightning adapter, which was a cable, you would plug it in and it would power the iSigns. The iSigns are little planar in-ears. The thing is, it wouldn't just plug in and play pure 100% unadulterated signal. It's a nice mouse pad. To the IMs, it would actually do an EQ adjustment. And so everyone would use it with the lightning, go, oh my God, these are the greatest fucking things on earth. And even though I really like the iSigns, once you installed the fucking lightning cable or the fucking, I forgot what the name of the cable was, but there was a name for that cable. Once you installed that, it was like, oh my God, I've been listening to broken shit this entire time. Well, guess what? If we go in here, and that was just an EQ tweak. This, if I go to DSP Manager, and up top is Convolver, and then I go to the thing, and then it says for once the impulse file, and then I literally have to download. These are the files you get. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 8 500 kilobyte wave files with configs attached, and you get 8 for open and 8 for closed. Because depending on which pad you're using, you have to use a different set of filters. And then on top of that, they're labeled 48, 96, 192, 384, 44.1, 88.2, 176.4, and 352.8. And if you're using Rune, which I should eventually do a review of Rune if Rune will send me a lifetime license, because I ain't paying $800 for a fucking music player that I can't make transparent for waifus. But Rune has all these features. You could load this into Rune and be like this. And then Rune, when you change tracks, will pick the correct filter. For Foobar, if you get the Convolver, I actually have it open here. The component, the impulse response Convolver, Foo Convolve, you can just load one. So all my music is mostly 44.1. Actually, this one is 96, but I'm going to change tracks. So I'm going to load the 44.1. You have level adjust, mix adjust, auto level input, okay, apply, okay. So now, Foobar is sitting here, and anything I play in it is going to have a DSP applied to it. And that DSP is going to correct the sound output digitally before the amp, before the converter, before the headphones. So when I play No Game, No Life, or something that's not shit quality, sorry, No Game, No Life fans, love the show. How? It's just a baby crying. It's literally a Tool song. It's got like crackles in it, and it's a terrible. It's not designed to be audiophile. Audiophile with two eyes. This is an entirely different headphone now. With the stock, like the I didn't like it with the stock pads, is now fucking gone. And I've tried it with the other ones, and this makes the most difference. And you could even run those Convolver filters in association with some pads, although they told me if you wanted to use this unit with pads, you would have to send them the unit and the pads, and then they would build you another custom set for $200 for the pad and the unit. And oh God. In this current configuration, with the stock pads, with the fucked up cable that's so big I want to throw up, on an LA90 on high gain, with the Convolver filters, these may very well be the best sounding headphones I've ever reviewed. Straight up. Now tell me. Like, what's going to compete with this? 1266? 1266, I haven't reviewed 12. Have I reviewed 1266? That was all detail. There's nothing to it. Stacks, L700s. These are faster than L700s. These have better bass response than L700s. That's another thing. Like, with the Convolver especially, it's like, okay, you know that bass that was slightly lacking? Fixed. These could very well be it. All right? This could be it. There's just a lot going on. That's why you watch Z reviews. Because as much as you could measure it, no one's going to prepare you for the fucking bullshit you need to jump through to get these to be perfect. Perfection. Now, perfect headphones in my mind don't necessarily mean the most fun or the best that I've ever heard and want to listen to all the time. You know, someone asked, one of the questions at the panel was, what's your setup? What's your one setup that's it forever? And it was like a Geshelli DAC. Well, actually, neither one of these is a Geshelli DAC. They're all amps. I want a Geshelli DAC because fuck expensive DACs. I want the Rebel amp, the big green one that was $500, Class A because it's warm as hell, and Meze lyrics. I want to just fucking fade into the warmth and sleep. If that's the only headphone I get, that's what I want. So these being fucking up converted through the cable, like unlimited detail, followed by the clarity adjustment you get from the Convolver, is just, this is getting into the peak of audiophilia. This is it. We're getting to the end. And the thing is, there's no color to this. We're back to that, like, well, what do they sound like, Zeos? Can you compare them to another headphone? No. Just the smallest, gentlest, lightest sounds. Just pianos. Just, I don't know if you could hear them through the headphones. You probably can. Like, it even changes the presentation of soundstage. The soundstage gets bigger, and yet the imaging is better too, which is not a thing you can do. So, like, this is not an EQ. This is not someone who went, oh, I'm going to EQ the bass up and the treble down. This is changing the phase at certain equalizations and then the volumes in, like, I don't even know how many various positions along the spectrum. So if he had this at the show, because he doesn't use the Convolver filters. He doesn't use different pads. I'm a big proponent of, if you get them, fuck it. Spend another $100 on a couple pairs of pads and try them out. I literally just been holding them against the thing, and then I've decided if I want to glue them on and stick them on. Even these Yaxies, these are like so much bass, and I think better comfort, but then they get too harsh, and then I don't even know what the hell these are. Anybody know what these are? What the fuck? They look like they're for the acoustic research ARH ones, but I don't think they are, so I don't know what those are. The XL gels from Brainwaves. I've been just flipping around all the ZMFs. I almost want to do a pad collab for these that Coney can sell. But then if they happens, I'd have to also have the filters generated. Because even if I get the filters generated, you can just buy them off the site, because you could. This is... There was an HE1 demo at CanGem, and I didn't get into it. Sadly, I couldn't. I forgot to sign my name up, and then I couldn't stay late enough the second day to get like a special reviewer thing on Sunday. And I sit here at this desk, and I'm just like, well, why bother? Because it's going to be something more than this. I don't know I don't remember from memory what the HE1 would have over what I'm hearing right now. All right? You're going to spend, if you spend $2,500 on this set, so you get that and you get this, then you have the option. I'll put back the standard cable because I'll make sure, I want to make sure we pause this music or restart it. I don't want to fuck this up. I also don't want to blow this up, so I'm going to unplug this fucking, Jesus, it's so big. That's what she said. We're going to put back this. We're down all the way there. Like this normal thing. And I'll tell you exactly the percentage I believe we're about to lose in quality. Because we're talking about, this is a headphone that you take steps and it rewards you. It actually does. The fact that it's built like a leather strap with some pegs and is like, well, you know what? Fine, I don't care. It's on my head and it feels comfortable. Oh, I might like it more with the thinner cable. This cable, this absolutely hilarious fucking thing, which is like cables, adds more, but for pure enjoyment, I'll put that around the succubus. So, but for my enjoyment, what I just said about the Meze lyrics on a Class A amplifier, the cable itself is bringing it closer to that too. It's not as upbeat. It's more relaxed. That's why this and like a pad swap was my go-to until I found the Convolver filters. Which, in foobar, if I change from a 44.1 to a 96, completely fucks it up. It sounds like ass, because the Convolver filter needs to be loaded for 96. So, if you're a foobar freak, Convolver filters are going to be annoying. But if you use Ruin, it'll be fine. So, you have to use Ruin. But, oh my god, like, just this one song. Just going from this cable to this cable on Yoko Kanno's Pearls, which is what I'm listening to, right, the way, from Cowboy Bebop. And I had to push the amp a little bit higher. Like, you could tell this is actually working. It's just softer. It's just a softer sound. Imagine tuning a headphone with a different cable. Well, guess what? This is the fucking headphone technology to do that. We could tune with pads. We could tune with fucking cables. We have digital things. So now when people ask me, hey, what's the best headphone you've heard? It's going to be with a lot of asterisks. It's going to be, well, these. But you need, if you want the most detail, you got the cable upgrade to get like the thickest fucking stupid cable, because you need to get that 0.01 ohms, you know, from there to here with as little resistance as possible, which means bulk. And then also you should probably spend $200 to get these like Convolver filters, because, you know, as much as I like it without the air, I could just turn it off. I could just turn them off. That's another thing. If I put this up and I hit Alt-N, once you've heard them with it on, this is still a great headphone. It's still a great headphone. Is it the best headphone I've ever heard on my desk? No. Turning those filters is the best headphone I've heard on my desk. So, I don't know. I'm fucking promoting a goddamn digital filter set now on top of everything else, and you people hate me. It's dumb. These have the potential for so much dumb. To just be the end. These have potential to just be the end. Whether you do it physically with pad swaps for more soundstage and just width and then bass, but then you then you throw a Convolver on there and it's like, holy shit, what? Because I mean, if we go back to the images, even like scroll down, I was supposed to scroll down the images before. Like, look at the corrections this thing is making for some of these. The red is the measured, and it's like, well, that looks terrible, Zeos, but you got to keep in mind, this is from 71 to 90 decibels. So, like, this dip here is like 3 decibels. But, and then you got the impulse response change in the fucking thing. To accurate sound, and to the runner of Rawl, and to me for fucking trying all these pads. And I guess we'll clap for fucking Double Helix, which usually sells overly priced cables. But for the first time in the history of this channel, an expensive cable actually made a notable difference. And I would say for the better. Like, it completely removed, like, this is actually softer because the electrons can't move through this freely enough. It's actually being held down, held back by the fucking cable being only probably $400 and not... Honestly, I'd be shocked if this cable wasn't as much as the headphones. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. You think Double Helix is going to sell you this fucking monster? Just the shipping weight on it alone will probably jump up to the $1,200 to $1,500 range. So yeah, one of the best headphones you can purchase. A lot of things need to go right for it to be peak performance, but even if you just plug this randomly into that and didn't do any of this Convolver shit, if you don't know, you'd be happy. And then you spent $2,500, so you might as well spend $2,700. Try the filters, and then if you want to spend even more, you can get different pads. Because I mean, it's not the worst pad. It's something about foam, like raw memory foam, against the side of my head that it just doesn't feel right. Fine for like testing, fine for on the desk, 45 minutes here, take it off, do things. But if I was going to sit for like 8 hours straight, I'd probably pick a nicer pad, throw it on there, and or just, I mean, I've used a couple of these pads with the Convolvers, and it still improves it on top of that. But if you really want to tweak it to like perfection, I can't even fucking fathom like if you had the Autor suedes or the Dakoni sheepskins, because these are huge pads. Putting these on there with Convolvers, well, the current Convolvers wouldn't, but oh my god, if you got custom ones, oh god. So yeah, I'm mildly exhausted. I don't remember if I did the sound demo for these yet. I may have, and I may have to do it again now that I have access to the Convolver filters. Thank you again to, I want to get the website right. Thank you again to accuratesound.ca. Mono filters are also included for HQ Player. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I didn't believe those would make this big a difference, and I didn't believe this would make this big a difference. And honestly, I haven't tried it on many amplifiers. I tried it on the LA90 and the LA90. So the fact that it needs to be on high gain and go to like 1 o'clock usually means you're going to need a fucking monster to power them. Despite having this transformer box, which previously only worked on speaker amps, is now currently working on a speaker amp. So yeah, I don't know, 47 minute review. 47 minutes? But it requires it. When a headphone is this good, from like, it's just like, this is it. This is the detail king and the soundstage. Once you get the Convolvers involved, it's just like, it wakes everything up and normalizes it to like absolutely clear and clean. And then I put back this cable to soften it. So now if I go back softened and then put back some pads, put back these pads or something, and then oh god. Anyway, thank you for watching. Patreon subscribe star supports this channel. Those people get to know everything I'm doing. If you want to go to a fucking Can Jam or something, those are the people I message first. For $5 a month, you get to see these reviews early, participate in yard sales from the 1st to the 10th of every month, and I do ship internationally for half the cost of the shipping. You get to access the sound demos. Sound demos are no longer available on YouTube because YouTube is lame. Terribly lame. But you can access every sound demo I've ever done, including the ones that are missing, and all new sound demos will be only available to supporters on Patreon and Subscribestar. And for $10 a month, you get into the private behind-the-scenes Telegram chat, where you can talk to me directly. I will talk to you directly. You also get into the Lifetime Swap Meet channel, where you can buy, sell, and trade gear once you're in that tier, and you don't get kicked out of that ever. And yeah, no. Thank you to Mimic Audio for sending this out, and for sending this out, because I would have given it a review, and I would have been like, these are really good. Really, really good. Then I heard this, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And then they were like, oh, let me hook you up with the guy who does the Convolver filters. And it's like, oh, fuck. And then I started doing the pad thing on my own. So this is all my fault. This fucking mess is all my fault. So yeah, no. Waifu and the Wallpaper Horde, your Resilio Sync Horde, which syncs every wallpaper I've ever used from my computer to your computer. Actually, from everyone's computer to your computer, because he's a torrent protocol. But that's nice. That's why YouTube doesn't be a dick about that either and be like, oh, midriff. Pornography, your channel's banned. They're fucking stupid. They're so fucking broken. Anyway, thank you. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna put, I kind of want to put this back on, but no, I'm good. We're good. I'm good. You're good. We're good. I'll see you in 2 days. Yeah, I cleaned that off the lens. It was goop on the lens from New York. This is what happens when you go to New York. Everything just gets filthy. Also a reminder that that's in the yard sale. No, that's not in the yard sale. That's in the description.